Good morning, members of the media and to the viewing public of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Weekly Media Brief. I am Michael Pear, and today on the media brief we have our Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith, who is going to speak to pertinent issues that he would like the public to be aware of. Mr. Griffith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pear. Members of the media, good morning to you. Yeah, just about a few matters of national interest that I'd like to just bring to your attention on behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The first two really has to do with perception. There's the perception by some that some may be more equal than others in this country, where there's some degree of, they believe that there's a degree of immunity or greater flexibility that should take place based on certain groupings or organizations in this country. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, I wish to give the assurance to the public that we do not in any way, when it is we are involved in our operations, we put any focus or concern pertaining to how we deal with our operations based on race, religion, or politics. Whereby the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we will not profile or witch hunt anyone. Likewise, we will not turn a blind eye to our duties based on who that person is. Excuse me. As I said, recently there was a situation whereby there was a matter that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, all that we were doing was trying to acquire information. And that had to do with a situation that there was nationwide concern based on comments made by an individual. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in no way accused anyone, targeted anyone, or saw that person as a suspect dealing with sedition. But what we have seen is that many persons have become overnight experts in policing, in law enforcement, and even in the law. And politicians actually got involved, where politicians actually stated that they know that sedition is based on if someone tries to overthrow a government. But if I just wish to clarify the meaning in the Sedition Act for the persons who are not aware, Sedition Act also involves if anyone decides to engender or promote feelings of ill will or hostility between one or more sections of the community on the one hand, and any other sections or sections of the community, or feelings of ill will towards hostility to or contempt for any class of inhabitants of Trinidad and Tobago distinguished by race, color, religion. And that is all that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service we are doing. We were there to try to acquire information. I think it is very unfortunate that people will try to target the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service as trying to profile. But as I said, we are not here to witch hunt. We will not do so. But if at any time we have our job to do, we would do it. What I thought quite interesting is just several months ago, many members of the public, they were actually stating that they said that the police, we are not doing enough, and we are not enforcing the law. Now that we are doing what is required, no persons are objecting to what it is that we are doing. And I just want to show a sharp contrast to how this matter was dealt with in how the police launched an investigation just to acquire a videotape. And it became the worst thing in the world for us, based on that same concept of the Sedition Act. Because the contrast I'd like to show is a police officer a few years ago. A police officer was questioned under that same Sedition Act, if you recall. And the comments he made were actually 100 times less. And the same politicians who actually condemned what the police did recently, they never had a word to say. So this is not about police abuse of power. It was about who the person is. And as I said, people may want to object, but that is their level of thinking. The police service, we will not investigate anyone or turn away based on religion, your organization, you being a politician or not. It had reached a point where the police service actually got intelligence on a matter recently, and the intelligence it proved to be effective, accurate. The person was actually held for having illegal substances, and persons objected because that person who was held, his mother was the housekeeper of a previous politician. So we want to know how broad would it go that there's some degree of immunity that people perceive or based on individuals because of their religious identity, political affiliation. It doesn't work that way for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. I wish to give you that assurance. In fact, even recently there was an incident that took place where the police, again, based on intelligence, accurate intelligence, we saw that certain individuals, they were using places of worship as an avenue to protect what it is that they were doing, and they used mosque. And through the mosque, the police service, we actually did the operation, and we actually acquired masks that were actually being used in Cocorite that was instrumental to a number of shootings that have taken place on a nightly basis. And persons objected to this. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we do not deal with security in this country as a Ludo game. You know, in Ludo, there's a specific spot that when it is you have that area, it's a sanctuary and you can't be removed. There's no Ludo game in the police service. If we have intelligence, regardless of where you are, who you are, you're not going to have a sanctuary to hide your criminal activity under the cloak of trying to use it in a religious, in a place of worship. And I also wish to clarify a matter recently where, again, based on social media, which has at times been an avenue to put undue panic. There was a video that just came out recently of an individual questioning Inspector Alexander, the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith, based on the police in going into places of worship. I wish to clarify that video was over 5 or 6 years old. If you actually looked at it, you will actually see Win TV. So that, again, because of the police actually being involved in an operation in a mosque just a day or two ago, someone just said, well, this was a very good idea for them to bring this up, again, just to cause undue panic. Another incident, again, whereby there's the perception of persons, they know what the police should and should not do, what they must be involved in operations, had to do with a recent situation whereby a computer and cell phone was taken for interrogation. And persons, again, had issues with this. I find it was really alarming that persons will actually use the concept of source of protection. I wish to give the assurance to the media. You can't just generalize what it is we did to come to the concept that every single time members of the media, you have a source, it means that the police would go after the reporter or to try to find your source based on a simple crime or someone who you may have as a source being a criminal. That was not the case. There are two different things to source protection, which is the right of the media, and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we will respect that. But there's a difference when it comes to terrorism. The persons who have made the comment to try to state that you must have source protection to protect trying to protect a country from terrorism. It means that some people need to do some research or travel further north or east of Charlottesville and try to understand the serious nature of what terrorism is in this country. Terrorism is something that is global. We are part of this globe. And how terrorism is dealt with worldwide is that you cannot use source of protection, especially when it comes to a situation. That was an act of terrorism. Terrorism involves not just the actual action, but also acts that are committed to put panic in a country. And that is what that took place that day, where thousands of children, their lives were at risk. There were someone threatened to kill thousands of innocent children. Parents were affected. Children who took exams were affected. They may never recover from that because it may have affected them in their exam. And that person was still out there. It is the role of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to do what is required to ensure that that person is brought to justice. Because suppose the next time it is not an idle threat. We needed to make sure what was required is to find that individual. And you do not use source protection as an avenue to justify that the police may be abusing their authority. This is done worldwide. So I wish to give the assurance to persons who are trying to give the perception that every single time anyone in the media has a contact or a link, it means that the police could use that type of the law to justify demanding that we extract your phone or your computer. That is not true. There's a totally different aspect when it comes to someone trying to detonate a bomb, an improvised explosive device to kill thousands of children, and that person may have done so again. But as I mentioned again, so persons found two activist groups comprising one person each to justify the fact that the police may have done something wrong. And it is the right of persons, it is your opinion. But again, it is my right to defend my police officers and to justify if it is that they did something that was correct. And it was correct. It is what we will do again if we have to. Again, what we have noticed, however, is that there have been many acts now where we seem to condone wrongdoing in this country. And that is where some people ask, why is this a lawless society? But when we have reached a point where the police are being questioned to even acquire information to verify if it is that someone may have committed a crime, or to try to acquire electronic equipment to see if they can assist in pinpointing a terrorist, or the police service doing what is required to arrest individuals who have been found guilty on crimes before, who escaped from prison, and then we see law-abiding citizens trying to justify and be sympathetic to criminal elements by saying why it is you're going after these individuals. And I wish to ask the public, let us please take away these three words that is always used on a constant basis, but what about? Anytime the police will deal with a situation, they will ask, but what about? So and so and so and so. The police are not here to deal with the but what about. Information comes to us, we will turn that information into intelligence, and then we will verify if it is that charges can be laid. But I am not here as this Commissioner of Police. We are not here, as I said, to pinpoint and say if it is that somebody is held because he had a tangerine party card, we must now go after somebody with a blue party card. Or if somebody may be in one religion and he was held, we must find somebody in another religion. The police service nowhere in the world operates like this. We work based on reports that will be given to us, and we will do our investigation. It is not a case that there will be certain investigations where the matter can be dealt with swiftly, and others may take a longer time. It has nothing to do with us trying to find A and then look to find B to show a balance. Anytime we do that, we will be breaching our responsibility in the oath that we swore to protect and serve with pride. I would just like to move on to three quick points here. It has to do with the Gulf City operation that the police conducted, Gulf View, operation the police conducted a few weeks ago, that I now that I can actually explain what happened. Also, the matter with Mr. Johan Chin, the Jamaican national who was kidnapped, and the final point dealing with the plant-like substance gate or weed gate or whatever it is that we called it at the home of the opposition leader. I wish to just to bring clarification, if not closure, to these three matters. As it pertains to the operation that was conducted by the police recently at Gulf View, where several homes, the police actually launched an operation. Many persons, again, they condemned the police service for it because they thought that maybe the police should not operate in that manner. I wish to give you the assurance that the police service, we are not perfect and we would make mistakes. But in a situation like that, we have absolutely no regrets. There was not a mistake that was made. It was something that was mandatory. And I wish to clarify the reason for it. We could not explain then, but we can clarify now. In the law, under the Criminal Law Act, it actually gives the police that authorization to that if it is that the police believe that someone is engaging in attempting to conduct some criminal act that can amount to physical violence, and failure by the police to act immediately may result in serious physical injury or death to someone. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we were involved in an operation, as you would have seen how we deal with kidnappings now, try to deal with it as best as possible, and to ensure the safety of the individual. Because in a kidnapping, the most important thing is to make sure that the victim is returned unharmed. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, during that kidnapping operation of Mr. Yuan Chin, we got enough information to verify that the individual was actually in close proximity to the area where it is that the police conducted that operation. And that is what it is they did. So I wish to give the assurance that no person, no homeowner, no one in that area, they are or have been a person of interest, they are suspect or in any form or fashion. So I wish to clarify that because I know some persons, some homeowners have been concerned, and especially the fact that they believe that they were red flagged. It is not so. It is the right of the police to have conducted that operation. And to any of those homeowners, the way it is that the police conducted that operation, I am certain that had it been one of your children who may have been kidnapped, heaven forbid, in another part of this country, and we had intelligence to verify where they were, you would have been very pleased for us to have operated in the same manner, because that is what the police did. It was something that we were forced to do to try to see if we can pinpoint the individual to try to have him released. As it pertains to Mr. Johan Chin himself, again, I wish to clarify that Mr. Chin, he has been released. We spoke to him at length 2 days ago. He is now back in Jamaica. I wish also to clarify a point where, again, based on rumors, sometimes it can affect persons. There have been some rumors stated that Mr. Chin was involved in some type of criminal activity. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we did comprehensive research and in-depth analysis during the kidnapping, and contrary to reports, we have no knowledge whatsoever that Mr. Chin was involved in any criminal activity, nor do we have any report of such for him and his family. Mr. Chin, like his father, is a recognized businessman, and we have nothing to show that Mr. Chin was involved in any illegal activity. Finally, I'd like to deal with this matter of the plant-like substance that was found at the home of the leader of the opposition, Kamala Persad-Bissessar. I think it is rather disappointing that after 5 years, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we never actually gave a degree of closure to clarify this matter. It is still in the hands of the DPP. There are still some matters in this it is still ongoing, but there's a lot that I can actually state at this time. As I promised this country, I intend to close all gates one way or the other. The public has a right to know, and if we do not close the gates, it gives the perception that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we are probably covering up, we are not adhering to our responsibility, or we are ignorant to the fact of what can really be a simple operation. I think it was rather, again, disappointing that after 5 years, we still referred to a matter as a plant-like substance because the police service never gave to the public verification as to what the plant-like substance was. I wish to state today that the plant-like substance was marijuana. So after 5 years, it has been brought to the public, it is no longer plant-like substance, it was marijuana. As it pertains to the incident, however, there's this perception that was given, and again, because of the nature of who was the person that it was found at whose home, this was a matter of national interest. There's the perception that because something is found at the home of an individual, the individual is automatically culpable and responsible. I wish us to clarify this matter, and this, based on the investigation, this is what has come to us as well. An individual may very well have, if someone is in a home and you have full access, control, and authority for what enters your home, well, then there could be some degree of responsibility being given to the homeowner. In this case, members of the media and to the public, based on the investigation, the marijuana was actually found outside of the house of Kamala Persad-Bissessar and not inside her home. If it was inside, there may be some degree of authority that she would have, and even then, sometimes it is still very dodgy. But in this situation, what we have discovered is that 1, the item was discovered outside in the yard and not inside her home. 2, the owner of the home was not in the country at the time. And 3, there were over 70 persons that we have discovered who had full access to the yard, from gardeners, drivers, soldiers, police officers, plumbers, and the list goes on. So for anyone to say that there should be, now I know persons will then say, well, there should have been comprehensive checks to verify if everyone enters the home. Even the office of the Prime Minister, the diplomatic center, the President's house, you do not do a comprehensive search where of every person that is entering, especially the fact that this was private property. But again, even in state property, it is not done. First, to verify if anyone enters a Prime Minister's home or the President's house, and to verify that the person may not have marijuana in his back pocket, we'll probably need to do a comprehensive strip search and check every single vehicle. And so this is virtually impossible in this situation. So this was not a matter of bad policing of any flaw, but you have 70 persons coming and going around the private home of the opposition leader at the time. It would have been virtually impossible for us to prevent someone walking in with marijuana. Having said that, I wish to then clarify the fact that the owner of the property, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, the opposition leader, she is in no way culpable. She is not in any way accused of any wrongdoing, and she is clear of any matter pertaining to this investigation. The investigation, however, is still ongoing, as there are other matters that still have to be dealt with pertaining to that incident. But as it pertains to the opposition leader, she is in no way responsible for what was found in her premises, in her yard at that time, which was marijuana. Members of the media, as I said, I will continue to give you all updates of matters as quickly as possible. In the very near future, I intend to put closure on the matter pertaining to the day of total policing. I will give you a comprehensive update as to the investigation that is ongoing with AV drilling. And again, that is not a very simple case. It is not a case where, for example, there were barrels of with oil, and we were able to check the barrels to verify that the person did not provide it. I have to bring in geologists and others to make sure that if and when we make a decision, it is airtight. So I would give you an update of that very shortly, as well as investigations ongoing pertaining to live sport and Emailgate. Members of the media, that comes to the end of my comments, anything that I have to say. And I think, yes, I would ask and offer any questions now at this time.
Please remember to state the media house you represent and your name.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Commissioner. Ryan Hamilton Davis here, Trinidad Newsday. One of my first questions, it seems that certain individuals are developing a strategy in Trinidad of crying foul anytime they come under any kind of scrutiny. All right. Some examples, same as the Gulf City incident, several other cases that you also mentioned. They could round it up to like the kind of all your wicked mentality kind of thing. Do you think that this is a hindrance to the police service, or do you think it's part of more the democratic process, people's right to question?
Good question. It is a matter of both, really. It is your democratic right to protest. It is your democratic right if you feel that the police will be doing something wrong. But again, democracy at times will give persons the opportunity to give statements without any logic. Because basically in the Gulf View matter, people actually stated that we were looking for yellow houses. People said it was based on being political. So the height of ignorance in trying to justify wrongdoing, it has reached the point of no return. And that is why when it is that many persons in the society, they complain that it is a lawless society. We have seen where we have reached now in our country, whereby a police officer could be shot, a bullet will penetrate his vest, and then people will actually have the audacity to say that they were there and they actually saw. But then a week later, in the same carnage, a 12-year-old boy is shot and nobody saw anything. We have reached a point now where there will be a situation where all the police we are required to do, this is our job. Somebody made a statement that was an eye-opener. We are not saying it was sedition, but it is our right to acquire videotape just to verify if it is that it requires an investigation to be launched. And this has become a nationwide debate, to the point where politicians got involved to defend it, and politicians didn't even read the law to understand the Sedition Act. And the same politicians never said a word when Mr. Seals was charged under a similar act for something 100 times less alarming than the comments made by the other individual. So this is what will continue, where prisoners would escape and persons are sympathetic to the prisoners because they believe that the prisoners did no wrong, to the point where somebody might have access to us to pinpoint a perpetrator, a terrorist, and because the police are trying to acquire a computer to find a terrorist, to stop a terrorist from threatening any one of your children here, they find that it is wrong for us to deal with it in that manner. So, or criminal elements using a religious place of worship to hide their masks and their weapons, and if the police decide to raid it, they say we should not have done it during Eid, so there's a get-out-of-jail-free card based on religion. This is the type of madness we have reached to now, where people have started to be sympathetic, aid and abet, and condone wrongdoing in this country. And it is not a matter of democracy. I think it is a matter of ethics. We need to understand it's either we want to win this war on crime or not.
Okay. As far as people's opinions and perceptions of the police service, do you think that there's a need for some manner of education or some manner of further communication between the police service and for the general public to just edify people so they will have a better opinion?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if a politician could say she thought sedition is only trying to overthrow a government, it means she didn't read the Sedition Act. If it is that some persons would be, they were offended and said that the police had no authorization to have gone into the homes in Gulf View because they didn't have a warrant, it's because they've never read the Criminal Law Act. So it shows that people, again, it's an education campaign, but as I said, it is also based on emotion. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, for years, people condemned us and said that we are not doing what is required. Now we've been pushing that envelope, and now automatically the red flags are being triggered because it is every single thing that is done in this country, you find some excuse based on race, politics, or religion. I do not have time to worry about either of the three. And we will respect all three. We will make sure that there's no witch hunting, but we will do what is required, and we will not turn a blind eye based on the perception that what somebody will say. If it reaches a point where the son of a housekeeper, of an ex-politician, we have a problem that we shouldn't do that and that is political. When would it end? Because then everybody here in some way or the other is involved in race, religion, or politics, which means the police service should back off from dealing with our obligation. We are not. I intend to push. I am not here in a popularity contest. I am not here to try to win votes. I am here to do a job. And I promise you that and there would be police officers, and at times we would make a mistake. We may go over our role and function, and that is why it is you have the Police Complaint Authority, and at any time with the Police Complaint Authority, I work closely with them. Every 2 weeks we meet, and you would have seen, never before have we seen so many police officers actually arrested based on over the last few months, from kidnapping to being involved in gangs to fraud. You have it?
No, not at this time.
I think it's here. I could give the breakdown. I could give the breakdown. And again, likewise, with 300 police officers suspended, I think this is unfair to police officers. Many of them should be back, and some of them should never see a uniform in their life again. This commissioner of police, I am not just going to pass the buck and put them suspended on 3/4 pay, which, as I stated, it costs the taxpayers over $50 million per annum, and we get nothing. There's no productivity out of it. Officers need to either return to work or I make the decision and have them fired.
Right, Ryan, we'll take one more question from you because we need to pass on to the other members of the media.
Well, you mentioned the 12-year-old boy that was shot in Carnage. All right, just give me like a two-part if you don't mind. The mother of the 12-year-old boy, she was one of the people that are actually calling for people in Carnage to come out. Do you think more people should think like that or develop that kind of mentality?
Yeah, and definitely that is what we need. Just to get the concept that people say that there are guns around the country. So it's the job is of the police to do it. Again, I plead with people, start reading and doing research. Internationally, what has been successful in police services actually winning the war on crime is based on the public support. It is known as human intelligence. And that human intelligence is based on the concept that there is no such thing as the perfect crime. Everybody would have known something, would have seen something. But the only time people have bionic eyes is when the police are involved. As soon as the police are not there, no one sees anything. Now, at times, in fairness to some of these communities, it is not just based on the persons being affiliated to criminal elements or sympathetic, but there's also fear. There's a fear factor that if they make a comment, there's a concern of reprisal. And what I would be doing is providing an app and providing a system for citizens to come out and give us information. Anyone, there are about 30-odd shooters I am monitoring them like hawks now because they have been instrumental to the majority of homicides this year. But anyone who has information pertaining to shooters, criminal elements, those involved in the illegal trade, human trafficking, drugs, illegal weapons, who have possession of weapons, give us the information and we will deal with them. But we need the public support, and you can't just be turning a blind eye, and the only time it is that you open your mouth is when it is that the lady with the towel and telling the police all you're wicked. It is much more than just saying that the police all you're wicked. Where's the all you're wicked when criminals shoot at criminals on a daily basis?
Mr. Commissioner, a lot of people in these areas would claim that they don't have the trust with police officers. What do you think can be done to develop this trust, and what advice would you offer them? If they indeed have information, how can they go about giving the police this information?
Yeah, very good question. I would not advise the public at this time. I can't put my hand on a block that each and every police officer can be trusted. You wouldn't do the same thing with politicians. You wouldn't do the same thing. So you can't, because remember, the police service comes from society. Our society is not perfect. But I can assure you that what we are doing is putting systems to ensure a degree of accountability and consequences for any police officer involved in criminal activity. Having said that, if it is that you are fully aware of persons who are involved in illegal activity, rather than go directly to a station to report it, I am asking the public, do not do that. If it is that you're aware of a very serious nature and you are concerned, I continue to state, you can WhatsApp me directly, so it cannot be traced. If you see something, say something. You WhatsApp me, 482 Gary. I actually mentioned recently, many people have been using the 482 Gary for everything under the sun other than giving me information. A man sent a message recently, and he said that the cock is crowing in his neighbor's yard at 4:30, and if I should deal with it. I told him, I wanted to tell him he should curry the chicken, but I asked the public, please give us information to reduce crime. There's also the Crime Stoppers, and again, with the app. There's going to be an app that is provided. similar to the London Met Police. The London Met Police, there's a lot of online reporting. Online reporting, there's a degree of confidentiality. We do not want to know who you are. If you want to be provided with a reward, fair enough. But the greatest asset we have is human intelligence. The majority of the 1.3 million citizens in this country, most are law-abiding, and they want to deal with the 3,000 punks, these elements in society who continue to affect us and take away our fundamental right. So you're correct, and very soon I would be providing you with the avenue for citizens to give that information.
Commissioner, another major criminal issue right now is the issue of human trafficking, right? Across the country, there are brothels which almost every person knows where they are located, how much a service would cost, yet these things are still functional. How is this possible, and what is the police plan to do about this? Are there plans to crack down on these brothels, and how soon can we expect this?
Well, I'm not going to divulge what we intend to do in the very near future, but you can be assured that a lot of the incidents that have taken place in what you spoke about, it will be dealt with clinical operations. And it is not just operations to deal with brothels. It has to do a lot with the human trafficking, with virtual slavery. And the human trafficking has also provided the same avenue of human trafficking with illegal immigrants entering our country, has proven to be the same conduit that these persons use to bring in illegal weapons and drugs. And then we also have the situation, you would recall, over the last few months, you have seen what we have done, where 19 Venezuelan minors, girls from 15 to 19 years old, they were actually released because they were held as virtual slaves and under prostitution. So yes, we intend to do this. And again, this is just another typical avenue that if the public, anybody in the public, they are aware of who the individuals are, what vessels they're coming in on, what it is, how it is they're doing it, what are the buildings, where are the buildings, please bring it to our attention.
One more question, please. Yes.
The government had announced plans to at least look at the decriminalization of marijuana. Have you had any discussions on the topic with the National Security Minister? Have you been briefed on anything? Any discussions on the topic at all?
The Commissioner of Police does not in any way engage in trying to deal with matters pertaining to amendment to the law. I can make recommendations. Those recommendations, I try to keep it confidential because if anyway it goes left or right, I do not want it to be seen that the Commissioner was adverse to a recommendation that was approved or rejected by the administration. We will adhere to the law as it is at this time. The use of marijuana is illegal, and I ask the public to please adhere to this and not just get carried away based on the perception of what may take place in the very near future. But that question should be directed to the Minister of National Security.
Any other questions for the other members of the media? All right, well, we'll
I think you want to...
Wait for the mic, please. Thank you.
Just a quick update on the investigation into the police-involved shooting in Carnage, resulting in the death of, I think it's Naomi, 14-year-old Naomi. Just a quick update.
The NYPD, they were here recently, and they're assisting us in trying to revamp our gang unit, our homicide unit. And one of the concerns that we have is that aspect with ballistic testing. In New York City, based on any incident that takes place, with true ballistic testing, they get back the results in 3 days. In Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, it can vary from 2 to 6 years. It shows a very serious problem that we have. Again, in the restructuring of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, there are many things that I intend to implement in the very near future. You will be seeing a totally a diversification, not just in our mobile patrols, but you'll be seeing things pertaining to even coastal patrols. You'll be seeing aspects in how we deal with our air operations, and also dealing with forensic testing, ballistic testing, improvement in technology, dealing with white-collar crime, the revamp of the intelligence division. But that, what you spoke about, is just one of the concerns, and at times it is outside of the control of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, which I think is rather unacceptable, because when you have a situation like this that can go on for so long, by the time it is that we can actually pinpoint the perpetrator, they may either be dead, the other witnesses may no longer want to provide evidence, which is why we have to ensure swift justice, but make sure that we have the documentation as quickly as possible. I am drafting in the restructuring, but again, hopefully by September, October, I'll be able to give more information on it, based on budget constraints and approval.
All right, this brings us to the end of today's media brief. Thank you, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith, and thank you to the members of the media for attending. Do have a good day.